everyone, Corrie here, coming in to do the weekly channel message. This message is going to be for the week of August the 9th. And this message is coming on the heels of the August the 8th Lionsgate energy. So the Lionsgate energy, the heart opening of the Lionsgate is still here. It is here. That portal energy doesn't close until the 12th. So your heart is like this wide open gaping energy. So a lot of heart matters come up. You may still be experiencing, being tied to emotions and past energy and just feeling connected into, you know, um, connecting into the past rather than into the possibility of the future. You may be feeling a lot of things right now. And don't become, I wrote this earlier this morning. It's like, those are things that you're experiencing. They're not always a truth to what you're feeling in your true everyday, but it becomes habitual to return ourselves into a feeling, like a melancholy feeling or a sadness or an anger. Some people make a professional life out of being angry, and they can create much content from being angry and angry at the world. But is it serving your highest good? Is it serving the purpose of why we are here? And so, what you may be existing in and what you may be feeling is that wanting to hold on to something that identifies, that gives you a why to some of the identity that we create, the roles we play into our why of why we behave how we behave. This energy is giving us the opportunity to look at it from a way of not letting the experience claim you, but you claiming the experience and then gaining wisdom from it. How do I gain wisdom from this? What can I do with this? How will this serve me how can I use this experience that I'm existing in right now to serve the highest good of whatever my tomorrows will be, or however how I want my tomorrows to look like. So there is a lot of truth that's coming through. I did have a lot of goddess energy coming in, and I have a lot of Kuan Yin. And if you've ever been in any of my goddess courses, you hear me speak of, I met Kuan Yin through my third eye, through my experiences of, transcending this world and entering into other dimensions and realms. Was I met Kuan Yin actually present as I was recording one of these videos, and I could feel her standing behind me without all of her decorations, without being decorated, is what she told me. And she was just a woman, and she had long, beautiful, dark hair, and it just smelled like, I want to say it smelled like almost rosemary smells. Like there was just this oily smell that just like illuminate, just like drew you in. And she was just looking average to me, like not average, she was absolutely beautiful, but looking like a real person. And the message and what she taught me through guidance was that, other people decorate us, other people, the world decorates us, other people tell and keep stories alive about who and what we are, what we're expected to be. But it doesn't mean that we have to live up to the legacy of what another creates of us. And the moment we're living up to the legacy of what somebody else is creating about us, often what we're doing is that we are stepping into that place of exuding the attitude, either trying to prove that you're not. And in the meantime, if they say, oh, she was so angry, she's so this, or he's so this, or this is what they're like, well, you will start to be the imitation of that story, because you will find yourself being angry in wanting to defend yourself. Whereas once you know who you are, no matter how much the world tries to decorate you, and I know this has been a repeat message, so it's coming through in such a way of saying, we keep repeating it because you're not getting it. So whoever's not getting this, whoever keeps returning back into those old patterns and old ways, or still trying to please other people, or trying to prove that you're not something, right? Or trying to prove that you're more than what somebody else says about you. Stop it today. Stop it today. You got nothing left to prove. You have the opportunity to create your life, your happiness, and your joy from this moment. And if you keep continuing to let that be the interference in your life, and because it becomes an interference, then you will always have this static in and out energy of not being able, or incapable of being able to achieve living in the authentic truth, and your whole world around you will represent static energy. So it will be drama, broken relationships, unhappiness, always feeling like you're trying to scream to be heard, telling yourself the doubt stories, the negative energy that we bring in. Because in order to be our truth, we have to be willing to rise our vibrational frequency. If we are the oneness, if we're connected to the oneness of source and creator, then we have something of greatness that exists within us. And if you look out into the world, you look out into the energy of the universe, and you look out in awe, then there has to be something within yourself that can captivate you enough to live with an awe for discovering more of what that is within you. And so the message is truly bringing forth that sense of, this is what we call stepping into healing with kindness and compassion, a more loving sense of self. Um, hmm, they also do have, and the reason why I feel like this is coming up is there is there is some energy that is still present that feels like there's storms. Now, they may not be storms on earth, and that's where the difference comes in. People always think if I mention storms, sometimes I'm always speaking of weather patterns. Weather patterns are not always what we're communicating, that we're picking up. A lot of what we're picking up is things like the solar flares. So those cause storms out there in the universe, and they are little, you know, not little, they're massive disruptions. Also, it is also a breaking away. It is the, fragments of what needs to die, what needs to go, what needs to leave. And that's energy, right? So there is that energetic force, forceful energy that's just making room for something new, making room for something else to come in. So you may be in a lot of up and down emotions. You may be very staticky in yourself. You may be feeling like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so up and down? Why can I not just be, a consistent mood during the day? Is because every single second, every single moment, everything in life is changing. Nothing is consistent, nothing is still, everything is moving. Everything is moving all the time. You just can't see with your physical eyes always what's moving, like the walls are moving. Things are moving. The everything is happening in this real time of change. And so when we figure that every single one of our moments are going to be patterned to be identical, you're not seeing all of the small things that are happening that are actually changing. Such as, even if you're just sitting in your chair and you say to yourself, I've been sitting here in this position for an hour. Well, but were you sitting in that exact position? No. Were you moving? Yes. What else was happening? Well, if we only look at the self in the physical chair, all we see is the self that's stuck in the physical chair and have not been able to get up. Well, I'm blinking. Well, I'm breathing. Um, I've changed positions. I've moved my hands. I've had thoughts. Thoughts have gone through my head. Um, the the sun has moved outside. Uh, Somebody drove down the street. Somebody was driving past the house. Um, and so that's right. And so it's, what else is happening? What else is happening? And when you become curious about what else is happening, then you start to recognize that more is happening than we actually perceive in everything that's happening. So when we get stuck in a story of even what we think we've seen, who we think people are, there is more to the stories than meets the human eye. We just have a desire to hold on to narratives about ourselves, about others, about the world, that then give us a reason to make a stronger relationship with the emotional self and live in alignment to that emotional self. Well, the spiritual self is calling you out and calling you up this week. It is saying, stop telling yourself the story, stop trying to be a legacy to what others create about you. Start living, start seeking and looking to be more of that authentic self that you really don't know, and let go of who and what you think you should be, and set yourself free. And they're like, this is the last week we are giving this message. And so they're telling me this is the last week that this message is coming through, because there is going to be a massive energy shift. And when those massive energy shifts happen again, it just feels like you will either spend the next year being at total war with yourself, and that's not a threat. That's just saying, there's an energy out there that is just going to have you spinning around again until this time of the year comes around again. It's like, do you want to keep spinning, or do you want to be the change that you want to see in the world? Start being that in yourself. And it's not meaning that you have to have everything perfected. It is the awareness. When you step into the awareness, you are starting to wake up to a new possibility. You become more curious, you're wanting to discover more, you start to notice more. After hearing me say this about sitting in a chair, and every time you say, I am doing nothing or nothing's happening, I've just been sitting here for this hour or few hours, you're going to start to really notice, hey, I am moving. Hey, things are moving. Like now I'm still in this chair, but the wind just blew and the plant leaf just moved. The conversation has changed. The words have scrolled across the bottom of the screen a couple times. So many things has been moving pieces that's been happening, including my hands, including my eyes, including my breath. And so there's a lot of changes that's happened. Well, this looks like I'm doing the exact same thing. The only thing that's the same is the voice that's coming out, but everything, including the movement, the position of the body. Of course, the body is the same, but it has aged seconds. It has aged seconds. It's aged a few moments. It's aged. It definitely has been. There is a process that is constantly in movement. And so when we recognize that, then why do we have to stay stuck in an old identity, in an old way, an old life? Why do we feel like we have to stay trapped? What is that? What is that sense that loyalty? What is that sense of loyalty to all the things that take us farther away from ourselves? And why do we stay there? And it's just saying, this is like this, we're giving this conversation, we're having this conversation, and they're like, okay, I've talked this conversation out until we are kind of, well, they're always blue, but until we are blue in the face. And it's like, and now it has to be action. So after this week, it is a time of action. It is a time of making choices, or it is a time of staying in a lot of drama and being a part of the drama. Now, the drama in the world is not going to go away. That's going to escalate. We are witnessing a lot of energy that feels like a lot of very old times, and it's the emotions and the behavior and the desire for people to play God that's making it feel like it's previous experiences. And those some of the a lot of those previous experiences are going to backfire majorly. They just have to. They have to, because that narrative that's being pushed is not the way that is intended. So there is going to be some wake up calls. And I just said to my partner this morning, I just said, Corrie, you know what? Remember when the debit machines all went down here in Canada this past last month? And I said, that's so, and somebody messaged say, you called this blackout. And I'm like, that may be a little bit, but that's not the blackout that I see. That's not what I see. I see something so much bigger than that. I don't know how long it's going to last. It could be seconds, it could be moments, but it's a lifetime of change. And it does bring back an awareness and a lifetime of change that happens from what happens during that time of how, we allow ourselves to be blinded by not wanting to pay attention to the areas where we need to pay attention. But to also know that it's like, I don't have to fall into believing narratives and stories of, the legacy of anyone else. If I have not met them personally, I don't know them. And that I live by that so true now, because I know what it's like to be judged. If I have not met them personally, if I've not been in their presence, I don't know them. Because when we meet each other or we meet people, we meet the version of them that they want to present to you. And when you stop having to present yourself as anything other than, and to not to, pass on something or try to fool you or manipulate you, and sometimes that's so unintentional. Most people don't even know they do it. And then the more comfortable they get, the real truth comes out. It just gets revealed. Well, that real truth is, when you get into this sense of alignment and knowing you, you don't feel the need to have to walk as anything other than yourself. So what you meet is what you get. And we never know why the messages come or why things happen the way it happens, but there's always something deeper behind it, or something more kind of behind it. Now, I'm going to put in a little disclaimer type of thing here and say I am not talking about the unexpected losses of our loved ones, those people's fated experiences. I'm always asking for greater wisdom on this, because I believe the story is so much deeper. Um, but there is but everyone has these fated destinies, and we exist in people's fated destinies. And somehow they tell us, we choose each other to be what we need to be through our fated destiny. So we have the love, the support, whatever it may be, or we have the person that can bring forth the experience. I don't know. There's just so much that goes deep to that. And when I say I don't know, I'm asking the guides to give further information. And so, because I don't know, we're not going to sit here and just wait for it to come in. They will give it to us in divine timing, I guess. But what we're being told is that, this is going to be a very stripped down, real, raw version of ourselves that we are going to have to be looking at in a world scale, and just notice our own actions, our own behaviors, and see it unfolding. Now, I've gotten several emails and messages about the volcanoes, the underwater eruptions, and the volcanoes and stuff that I've been speaking of. And yes, they have been coming. They have been coming through. They have been happening. Um, so I do still have some weather patterns that's coming, and I see, like, I'm like, say, careful what you wish for. Like, you ask for rain. How much rain do you want? Be careful on what you are asking for, because it could come in as rain that puts out a fire, and it can be so much rain that it causes massive flooding. So we just want enough to be able to bring balance. So when you're asking for anything, ask for it to bring us back into balance. And that is with ourselves. We go from one extreme to the other. It's like losing 20 pounds, and it's like you still got 30 left to go, but 20 pounds you feel really good. Or and so then you start to live the extremes as if you're already there, but you're not there, but you kind of start neglecting and denying, ignoring those parts of yourself. It's like, oh well, I can just do this, I can cheat on myself, I can do this, I can do that, because I'm almost there. Well, no, we're not almost there. And so, but also in life, so it's like we can start to go back out. And I've said this from the time that we started to go back to living life, is that not everybody, don't get me wrong, they're saying people went back to living life as if trying to live their old lives after an experience that changes us forever. So everyone, it's just like people want their old lives back, and so people try living their old lives. So you're trying to fit yourself back into boxes, and that we don't belong into, worlds and communities where we are not the same people. So you may be finding discord, disagreements. You may find yourself not being comfortable where you thought you were. It's like trying to wear clothes that was in your closet from 10 years ago. And even if it fits, you just don't feel right in it, because it's not you no more, because you're not the person who even bought that clothes. Well, we're not the people we were prior to all of this that we have experienced. We are not those people. And it's like people say, why haven't you gone all the way back out? Why aren't you out every day working? And why aren't you out? Because I'm not the person who's going to ever do that again. That's not I'll never be that person again, because that's not the way that I'm being told, and I'm listening. So instead of keep trying to go back into the world, because when you're trying to go back into the world, you become that performer, right? You start to wear the mask again. You start to play the roles. You start to be that person again. You start to all of those energies, all of those stories. And so she's like floating on air. She is the three. It's mind, body, soul connection. What connection did we break to get back out there? Where did we sell ourselves to sometimes get things that we want instead of what we need? And so there is a lot of those questions that are here for us to be able to ask ourselves. Now, I have a lot of those in a lot of my programs that you can also check out. Sacred Sarah is the other. Remember the blue? I was saying like they're blue. Well, this is blue. So this is the energy of, I call them the blue beans. So I have these blue beans, and it's that sense of that without human life, and in the sense of the illumination of deep contemplation. So when you become when you become so deep within your own self and your own journey and your own whys, is that you discover a self, the soul essence of yourself that you have not ever met. And that soul self has lived many lifetimes. And so you also see that soul self through other people, through the reflections of others. Sacred Sarah is saying it is time to take time for, it's time to make time for deep contemplation, for that sense of resting in. And we have some crazy energy going to be coming into this fall, and it's some crazy, crazy energy that's coming into fall. And so it is a good time for, sitting with your harvest. You can still harvest the seeds you've planted and still grow, and still, but be aware of who you are, that you want to be able to reap the rewards for the things that you've harvested, and be aware of what is guiding you. Is it the need to be a rebel? Is it a need to just get out there? Is it a need to just do? What is that need? Or is it a call? Are you answering the call? And so if there's that sense of, well, I just feel that, I have to go to work, or I have to do this, or I have to be, well, that's the world that led us down the path to where we were. And that's not the way that we are supposed to be stepping back into the world. So answering the call, which means listening to this heart that is wide open right now, and giving yourself permission to claim that I am worthy of receiving love. I am worthy of healthy, beautiful relationships. I am worthy to give myself a pause, a time of reflection before I jump into the yeses, before I let myself be triggered into believing an old emotional story. I give myself permission. And we also ask that you open up to allow in higher guidance and wisdom to come in to guide you forward, because we're like little newbies. So that's the energy that we have that is happening around us. And then I'm going to validate this, and it wasn't the deck I wanted to pick up, and I'm like, oh, I did pick it up anyway, and it's the Tarot, and I have the Eight of Pentacles, and it is in reverse. And so I was using my deck of the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards, and these two decks were next to each other, and I thought I was going to pull mine, but I didn't. I didn't even look down, picked up the cards, and this is the cards that we got. And so the Eight of Pentacles is saying, there is, let go of control of trying to make the plans, or trying to identify yourself, or trying to convince people of who and what you are, and allow yourself the space, the kindness, and the compassion to just become. Allow from imagination and thoughts that come from the heart, and not from the old narratives and the old stories, to guide you in to the possibility of a new plan, a new direction, a new way. Maybe there's something that was all the way back in those childhood dreams that is just saying, like, we've been trying to speak this through or bring this through to you since you were a child. And now here you are, you're back in the curious energy. And maybe it's time to turn that childhood dreams into adult realities that may not be exactly, but there was a feeling of enthusiasm and excitement that came with when you looked at, explored that childhood dreams. So in that sense of that childhood dreams and what you're experiencing, what you were a part of, and just knowing, I keep hearing the noise come from, I don't know where it's coming from. And so that energy is just saying um, there is this enthusiastic energy. So when you can when it's like being inside in the winter, it can be a storm all the way around. But when you know who you are in here, that you can be at peace with that self, you can be at peace with you, and that you truly, honestly can know that you are safe. I am warm. I am safe. I am fine. I have all that I need. And I will let this storm do what it needs to do. And I will find the beauty and the while I am within this place. And that's our message for this week. I hope it resonates with you. You can check out much more of the work of my work and Lisa's work and Michelle's work all on mteacademy.ca. All the information is down below now. Don't know why I wasn't using my Be Live for this before. Or go to corriethorne.com. And I also have released my second book in downloadable copy. As soon as I hold the copy in my hand of the soft cover, then I will also be We will be releasing this. I didn't do nothing on downloading this. So we will be releasing that second book, and that book will be coming out. But you can now purchase a downloadable copy, and the book is called My Truth of Existing Beyond the Reflection. The first book is More Than Existing, which you can see right there. And you can check out so many of the courses. There is 60% off some of the courses in MTE Academy right now, which is More Than Existing Academy of Higher Consciousness. And so it is in Teachables. So go in, check it out. And then we have some amazing programs coming up for the fall. So you can check out all of, well, you can't check it all yet. We haven't released it all, but there is some in there. There is some new programs that are in there that we have all happening. Go check it out. Make time for you. Have a beautiful week. Much love. Bye-bye.